Hello and welcome to Afaria 201, Provisioning iOS Devices. At the end of this course, you'll be able to learn how to create an enrollment policy, enroll an Apple iOS device, learn techniques to confirm the device is under MDM control, First, we need to create an enrollment policy for our group. From the main menu in the Policy panel, select Enrollment Policies. Let's add a new policy. On the menu bar, select the Add icon, then select Enrollment and iOS. Enter a description for the policy. Click on the Add button to add an enrollment code. Next, you can change the various properties of the code. State refers to the availability of the code. The state can be set to either enabled or disabled. This could, for example, immediately disable an enrollment code. Portal Only associates the enrollment code with a self-service portal page. When this is checked as yes, it will create a new web page on the Afaria enrollment server that's specific to that enrollment code. This creates a new web page for users to enroll their device. There are two URL shortening services supported by Afaria. This includes tinyURL and Google. Because the URL is lengthy, this service will return an 8-character code that effectively functions like a passcode. An expiration date could be set or left blank. An expiration date would disable the code automatically on or after the date set here. You can leave this set to none, which means the code will never expire. Click on the green arrow to accept the entry. This will submit the URL to the tinyURL service and return a code to be used in the registration process. Once you've created your code, you can select it and then click on Inspect to display the full URL of the enrollment code. Click on General in the Settings list box. You can set the enrollment policy to various access control methods. Through a technique called email gating, Afaria will build a whitelisted devices and, using an ISAPI filter and the PowerShell service, will provide a list of devices to the email server. In this manner, all devices requesting email would have to be registered in Afaria to get email access. For new devices, you can choose whether to allow the device to automatically approve or not. When devices are blocked or not approved, they have to be manually approved in order to get email access. By using the default policy here, all devices will be allowed to enroll. You can change this to use an explicit policy such as blocking all devices. The third choice is to allow devices that are confirmed as administered by Mobile Device Management, where Afaria is installed, the assigned policy is delivered, the device hardware is encrypted, and the device is uncompromised. This gives you considerable control over how devices are allowed or blocked for email access. Again, any blocked device would have to be manually approved to grant access. This effectively functions as a method to whitelist your devices individually. Click on Group in the Settings list box. Here you can select the groups to which the device will belong. In this example, we'll add this device to our iOS VIP group automatically once enrolled through this enrollment policy. Click on Variable in the Settings list box. The variables will allow you to prompt the user for a limited number of variables, such as their user ID and password. Options include domain, password, user, notification address, which is the telephone number, and username. The device prompt can be changed as needed, but do keep the prompt short, as this may have to be displayed on a phone versus a tablet. The entry mask only applies to the password prompt. This option would allow you to unmask a password if that's what you want to do. Click on Save, and your enrollment policy is now complete. Begin the enrollment process by navigating to the self-service portal. Enter the enrollment address, and typically this would be sent to the user or available on a web page, so they don't have to type in the entire URL, but for demonstration purposes, we'll enter the entire URL. Note the naming convention of the URL. It consists of the Afaria URL, SSP, an I for iOS devices, and the tiny URL code from the enrollment policy. This tells Afaria that it's an iOS device and directs it to the appropriate enrollment page. You'll next be prompted for your credentials. This would typically be your user ID and password. When complete, you'll be directed to the enrollment portal page. Begin enrollment by tapping on Enroll. Tap on Install to install the Afaria Client app. You'll most likely be prompted for your Apple ID. This is a required step, and Apple requires you to use your personal Apple ID. Enter your Apple ID. Allow the Apple App Store to install the application. When the app is installed, return to the Safari browser and launch the next step, which is to apply the enrollment code. Afaria may prompt you to allow your device to determine your current GPS location. This may be used optionally for device tracking and is prompted when you have turned on Telco Expense Management in the server properties. The registration code will be automatically entered for you. Next, your enrollment policy code will prompt you for your device ID, username, and password. Enter these values and tap on Done to continue. A user must enter the user ID and password values correctly to get email. From here on out, generally a user would simply accept all the defaults as prompted. Afaria will install a profile. Tap on Install Now. A warning message is presented to the user. This lets them know that their device may be controlled by Afaria, and by tapping on Install, they're acknowledging their willingness as such. Next, Afaria will perform the SCEP certificate provisioning, which consists of a question and an answer. This is required by Apple for iOS devices. No interactions required. Last, the user is returned to the self-service portal. At this point, enrollment is complete and the device is under MDM control. Additionally, since Afaria delivered a passcode policy to the device during enrollment, the user would be prompted to create a passcode immediately. Once the device has been enrolled, you can see the devices in the device list. From the home page, select the device list icon. In the device list view, search for the device by user ID. Two devices are presented, an iPad 1 and an iPad 2. Select the iPad 1, then click on the inspector icon. Click on the hardware and software icons to display the properties of the device. If a device enrolled successfully, Afaria would capture this information in its inventory. To confirm it's under MDM control, select the device, then send it a remote lock command. The device should lock within a few minutes. You should now be able to know how to create an enrollment policy. Enroll an Apple iOS device successfully. Confirm the device is under MDM control.